Alright, YouTube, what's going on? So, today I was on the internet doing a little browsing on my first day off from work, which I'm definitely happy to be chilling and relaxing. But I wanted to bring some awareness with regards to this one issue in particular that has been circulating out of Brazil, and is basically just it's just the atmosphere in Brazil and the right-wing extreme climate that Jair Bolsonaro, the wannabe dictator of Brazil, has reigned on Brazil. So, a journalist by the name of Glenn Greenwald, who kudos and shout out to, is a phenomenal journalist. He's an amazing journalist. He is globally recognized. He resides in Brazil with his husband, and he is under direct threat from Jair Bolsonaro's fascist regime on a daily basis for multiple reasons. Reason number one being he's a gay man, and Jair Bolsonaro is extremely homophobic. I mean, there is without a shout of a doubt in the world that Jair Bolsonaro is homophobic. That's number one. Number two, Glenn Greenwald is a journalist who calls out the fascist regime in Brazil. And he resides in Brazil with his husband and their children. His spouse is a federal congressman representing the state of Rio de Janeiro. So, the incident that I recorded in my previous video that was about 20 seconds long, Glenn Greenwald was assaulted back in 2019, was assaulted by a right-wing journalist by the name of Augusto Nenes. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It was on a live radio show called Panico. It's basically a right-wing extreme show. It's basically the Brazilian InfoWars, essentially. And they were going back and forth. They had an exchange back and forth with one another. When the journalist questioned Nuns, or if he still believes the comments about the idea that Glenn Greenwald shouldn't have his children, or shouldn't be adopting children with his husband, David. I mean, yeah, stay classy. Yep, it's just unbelievable. And when they were going back and forth, Augusto assaulted Glenn Greenwald. Glenn Greenwald got up and defended himself, but then a bunch of radio security had to step in. This is the right wing, ladies and gentlemen. But of course, it's always, in the eyes of, I saw no coverage from the media. So in the eyes of the right wing media, in the eyes of the right wing in general, it's the left that's violent. It's the left wing that's doing the violence in the world. Now, again, the left wing can certainly take the blame with a lot of stupid shit that they do. But this whole thing, this Augusto guy assaulting Glenn Greenwald back in 2019, this is on you guys. This is on the right wing. Because this is the type of behavior that Jair Bolsonaro's fascist regime incites. This is what he encourages. He encourages people to use violence against his political opponents. He encourages violence against political opponents because he's a bigot and a tyrant and a war criminal and every bad thing in the book. So, Jair Bolsonaro incites people like Augusto Nenes to assault Glenn Greenwald and other critics of his regime. Because Augusto is obviously homophobic, extremely homophobic. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And we need to spread word of this regime. We need to keep calling out this regime. And this guy should have been on his ass. Like, Glenn Greenwald should have honestly have fucking knocked this guy to the ground. He should have fucking choked him. He should have fucking snapped his neck in fucking half. Because it would be self-defense. Because Augusto assaulted Glenn Greenwald first. If in fact he assaulted him back and he was trying to do that, they were putting up hands. It should have been This would have been self-defense. Glenn Greenwald could have fucking destroyed this guy. He could have fucking knocked this guy out. He should have knocked this guy in his fucking ass. And it would have been self-defense. Nuns was saying shit about his children. And Glenn Greenwald had every single right to go on this show and challenge this guy. Because that's what originally happened. This is why Glenn Greenwald went on this right-wing extreme show in Brazil, which is basically, like I said, the Brazilian InfoWars. So, what happened? This exchange resulted in this. That's what it resulted in. This is the legacy of Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil. This is the legacy of whatever the right wing touches. But Glenn Greenwald is smeared by the media. He is called right wing from these so-called fake progressives like the Young Turks and so on. Because Glenn Greenwald calls out bullshit on all sides. He calls out Russiagate. He calls out all the imperialist media's bullshit. He calls out everyone. So Glenn Greenwald is like, he's a great journalist. He's one of the greatest journalists of our time. Glenn Greenwald is the guy that published the NSA spying on behalf of Edward Snowden. Glenn Greenwald worked with Edward Snowden. The hero that exposed the NSA spying. He flew to Hong Kong with Edward Snowden to expose the NSA. So yeah, that's literally what this whole thing is about. This is what the U.S. under Trump was supporting. And of course, Joe Biden's at loggerheads with Jair Bolsonaro because Jair Bolsonaro was pals with Vladimir Putin over Ukraine. Yes, stay classy. So this is what the whole thing's about. The whole thing is about just the rise of fascism in the world. And this is fucking fascism. Augusto Nenes is a fascist and he's a criminal. He's a common criminal who assaulted Glenn Greenwald, and he should have been fucking locked up that same day. He should have been locked up that same day. But the reason he got away with this is because in Jair Bolsonaro's fascist climate, you can get away with stuff like this in his eyes. In his eyes, this is perfectly acceptable. In his eyes, it would be like Glenn Greenwald being the aggressor. When Augusto laid, if you watch the video, Augusto is the guy on the right. He's on the right side of the screen. Glenn Greenwald is arguing with them. They're arguing back and forth in Brazilian Portuguese. They're arguing back and forth. And if you watch very closely, Augusto put his hand on him first. That is assault. The minute you put your hand on someone, the minute you put your hand, you throw a hand first, you are the aggressor. You are the assaulter. Augusto Nenes is the aggressor in the situation. And fascist leaders like Jair Bolsonaro and Donald Trump and people like that allow this kind of behavior to happen. They incite this kind of behavior. Oh yeah, Trump incited that kind of behavior too. January 6th, Charlottesville. So yeah, this is right-wing fanaticism. This is right-wing fascism. And where the fuck were the Young Turks defending this guy? Where were the actual progressives defending this guy? Where the fuck were you people when a liberal journalist, a gay man, a globally recognized journalist exposing fascism in Brazil, living in Brazil with his husband? Glenn Greenwald is an American residing in Brazil over fear of persecution in the U.S. because he exposed the NSA. He was afraid that he was going to be the next Edward Snowden. So he took refuge in Brazil, met his husband. His husband is of Brazilian descent because he was born in Brazil. And they met and they are living together and they adopted children together. So where were the progressives defending this guy? Where were you guys? You guys did nothing. The only people who did was Jimmy Dore To some extent, oh yeah, secular talk exposes, because Kyle Kulinski at least has some principles. Democracy Now! By Amy Goodman and others. Actual progressives and liberals called this out. The Young Turks didn't, because the Young Turks has beef with Glenn Greenwald because Glenn Greenwald calls them out on their bullshit. Glenn Greenwald sides with Jimmy Dore, need I go on. So, in those eyes, you're a right-winger. Glenn Greenwald is a right-winger. Glenn Greenwald, a man who was assaulted by an extreme right-wing fanatic who is a supporter of the Bolsonaro regime, was assaulted on a Brazilian radio show. That guy's a right-winger in your eyes? Are you out of your fucking minds? This guy is a right-winger in the eyes of the Young Turks, in the eyes of corporate Democrats. This guy is a right-winger. But this is what we have to do as actual people on the left. I, as someone who identifies as on the left and as a secularist, a social democrat, center-left, this is what we as lefties have to do. We have to expose actual fascism in the world. And this is an example of it. This is an old issue. But I want to cite Glenn Greenwald because he is someone who I look up to. He is someone that I consider someone that I support. He is someone that I have looked up to. A political idol, an icon. So, no, Glenn Greenwald is a hero. He is in Brazil under a fascist dictatorship, borderline dictatorship that is committing genocide against indigenous people and persecuting gays and feminists and women and Afro-Brazilians and other minorities. So Glenn Greenwald is coming out, exposing this regime and exposing Jair Bolsonaro. And Jair Bolsonaro is a tyrant. He is a fucking tyrant. He is like a borderline Nazi. He is a fascist, or at least a neo-fascist. Glenn Greenwald risks his life every single day exposing the Bolsonaro regime every single day. So the biggest threat to Bolsonaro's regime is Glenn Greenwald and his husband. And Bolsonaro's supporters, like Augusto, can't take it. So when they got into an exchange back and forth, this is what it resulted in. An assault. Because this is what the right wing does. Who's the real violent ones in this scenario? And I don't want to hear Glenn Greenwald's a right-winger because he appears on Fox News. He talks with Tucker Carlson. I fucking despise Tucker Carlson. I think he's a fucking neocon, and he's a sucker for Trump and a sucker for Republicans, and he's a right-wing apologist. But do I care if Glenn Greenwald makes appearances on Fox News to talk with people? He does it because he talks to everyone. He talks to all the media. So I don't want to hear that he's a right-winger because he talks like Tucker Carlson. I despise Tucker Carlson. I fucking hate Fox News in general. But I'm not going to sit there and clutch my pearls about it like the Young Turks is going to do. Oh my God, you talk to the other side? Oh, you must be a right-winger. Get the fuck out of here. So no, Glenn Greenwald deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. Glenn Greenwald deserves an award. He's gotten many awards. He's gotten the Izzy Award for Special Achievement in Independent Media, together with Amy Goodman from Democracy Now! Yes, this is the legacy of the Bolsonaro regime. Just remember, it's the right wing that is the majority of the violence in Brazil, in the US, and wherever they hold power. I don't care how unpopular, how unloving that sounds, but it is the truth. It is the right wing that is the violent ones here. But this whole Glenn Greenwald getting assaulted on a Brazilian radio show, this is on the right wing. This is a guy who was a supporter of Bolsonaro. This isn't something that we're going to sit down and say that, oh my God, the left is the real violent ones, Antifa. It's got nothing to do with it. This is on you guys. This is on the right wing. This is on the right wing in Brazil. This is on Bolsonaro. This is on Bolsonaro, who I hope that Brazilians can remove from power in 2023. Because the longer this guy stays in power, the worse it's going to get for the globe, the Amazon, Brazil's democratic institutions, and the country's reputation in the world. My thoughts are with the people of Brazil, and my thoughts are with Glenn Greenwald. Kudos to him. My thoughts are with his husband and their children. May peace be with all of them. Anyway, I wanted to touch base on this story. I wanted to expose this because the Bolsonaro regime and other right-wing fascists needs to be called out at every turn. It is our patriotic duty to do so, and we must continue to do it. And the fight against fascism must live on. We did it in World War II. The world fought against Nazism and fascism. And it's rising again. Right-wing fanaticism and fascism is rising in the world again. And it is our patriotic duty to call this shit out and to fight against it by every stretch of every imagination. And we must continue to do so. And I'm going to end it here with that. So, hope you all enjoyed. Shout out to Glenn Greenwald and all the hard work he does, and to other actual progressives like Amy Goodman and Jimmy Dore and Aaron Mate and other journalists who put their lives out there, who put their lives on the line, who fight for real progressive liberal values and actual principles in this world. We need more people like them. We need more people like Glenn Greenwald in the world. And Jair Bolsonaro, fuck you. Augusto, fuck you. Anyone else, anyone who puts their hands on anyone like that is a fucking piece of shit and deserves every bad thing coming their way. To everyone who's watching, see you all again next time. See you all again in the next video. More stuff on the way, coming your way. See you all again next time. Kudos to Glenn Greenwald, because I cannot stress that enough. Peace out.